Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our ZipBooks orientation meeting. My name is Janet Coles. I'm the Assistant Bureau Chief for Library Development Services at the California State Library, and I'm the monitor for this grant project. And presenting with me today will be Wayne Walker, who is Operations Manager for Khalifa Group. And on the webinar, we also have Project Manager Brett Lear and Jackie Brinkley, who's coordinator for the NorthNet Library System, as this ZipBooks expansion project is funded through a California Library Services Act grant to the NorthNet Library System. I also want to give a shout out to Marjo Mello from the Brawley Public Library, who I believe has joined us, sitting in on our session this afternoon to assist with questions at the end. The Brawley Library has been one of our participants for several years now, and Marjo's got some great perspectives from the actual implementation viewpoint for the ZipBooks project. We'll be sharing a lot of information with you this afternoon, and we're going to start with a little project background and a quick overview of policies. And then we'll talk about process and local procedures, and Wayne will talk a little bit about using Amazon and establishing an Amazon credit line. And then we'll finish with some project rollout information and hopefully save plenty of time for questions toward the end. We're scheduled for 90 minutes. We may not need all of that time, but we did schedule for that amount of time just in case. And before we begin, I want to mention that the PowerPoint for this webinar will be sent out to you and also made available online after the meeting. And the webinar is being recorded, and an archived version will be available online very soon. And in the interest of time, we'll be taking questions mostly at the end, though we may be able to address them as we go. So what is ZipBooks? ZipBooks started as a pilot project developed by the Butte, Shasta, and Humboldt County Libraries back in 2011. And the goal was to identify and test efficient, cost-effective alternatives to traditional interlibrary loan delivery practices. And one of the methods tested by these libraries was a buy versus borrow model, where books were ordered through Amazon rather than requested through interlibrary loan and then shipped directly to patrons using the free Amazon Prime 2-day delivery service whenever possible. And this is the model on which our current ZipBooks project is based. The ZipBooks statewide project started in 2013 with Library Services and Technology Act funding, and we are now in our 5th year with that project. And this expansion project builds on our experiences with ZipBooks so far, with the goal of widening the project's reach and testing the model in different types of public libraries. Looking at what's happening in the library field, we see an increasing focus on involving the community in developing services and in meeting community needs and aspirations. And for collections, this means libraries are moving away from collection-centric models where the focus is collecting in case it's needed, to user-centric just-in-time models where users are getting the resources they want when they need them. And that's what ZipBooks is. It's a cost-effective alternative to traditional interlibrary loan service, which focuses on the user. So why ZipBooks? The data that we've collected so far shows significant benefits to the ZipBooks project. For the first few years of the project, the participating libraries collected detailed statistics and also surveyed customers on an ongoing basis. And also last year, we contracted with Kalifa Group to conduct a cost-benefit study of the ZipBooks project. And the findings over time reveal a multitude of pluses for ZipBooks. Benefits to patrons include fast delivery, convenience, highly individualized borrowing, such as foreign language items or esoteric topics, or special formats, such as large print or audiobook, that a library might not otherwise be able to provide, and patron empowerment, as patrons feel they are able to contribute to the library's collection development decisions, share their reading interests with other patrons, and improve the library's collection. Benefits to library staff include less time and hassle to use ZipBooks in comparison to ILL, positive interactions with patrons because the customer's need can be filled more quickly, better service to patrons, exposure to materials such as lesser known works that they might not otherwise encounter, job satisfaction, closer engagement with patron interests, closer connection to community needs and aspirations. Benefits to the library include promotion of reading for all, great publicity and enhanced reputation, increased use of the library and greater patron engagement, and increased relevance. And as one of our county librarians said, less work, fast service, and happy patrons, and it just doesn't get any better than that. The benefit we were most concerned with, though, when we started this whole thing was cost benefit. And the Galicia Group study indicated that based on labor costs alone for our ZipBooks libraries, for traditional interlibrary loan, it cost on average $11.47 to lend and $18.33 to borrow. And the study found that the average cost for a ZipBooks transaction was $8.60. So a complete ILL transaction, borrowing and lending, then costs almost $30, or roughly 3.5 times the cost of a ZipBooks transaction. And so while average interlibrary loan turnaround time was not part of the Galicia study, most of our libraries were telling patrons that it would take at least 2 weeks, and it often would take 3 or 4. For ZipBooks, the average delivery time was about 3 days, based on Amazon records over a 2-year period. That's about 50,000 transactions. So in over 2 years of customer surveys, over 95% gave the ZipBooks service an overall excellent rating. And our participants have found that the ZipBooks model is really relatively easy to implement, and it reduces their staff processing time by 2/3. California has a long history of state support for cooperative library systems and interlibrary lending. The 1977 California Library Services Act established transaction-based reimbursement, TBR, for public libraries to provide interlibrary loan service. This funding dwindled steadily through the 2000s and was finally eliminated in the 2011 budget. And libraries have seen costs for library-to-library ground delivery of interlibrary loans grow higher and higher. At the same time, state support has been eliminated. So this project was developed directly in response to this, recognizing the need to explore creative alternatives to these traditional services. So who's participating? We have 30 libraries in what we'll call the Legacy ZipBooks project. And this year, we're adding 13 more through the NorthNet ZipBooks expansion grant, as shown here. And we want to welcome you all on board, and we're excited to be able to offer this opportunity to a wider range of libraries. You can see that our reach throughout the state is expanding with your new participation. So who's running the project? This is a NorthNet California Library Services Act funded project, and Khalifa Group is a contractor to NorthNet to provide ZipBooks administrative services. Brett Lear is the overall project manager, and Wayne Walker is the technical lead. As the NorthNet Library System Coordinator, Jackie Brinkley provides overall project oversight, and I am the State Library Grant Monitor. Several of our veteran participants have agreed to be on call to help new libraries as they get services underway, and so we'll provide contact information for those later. Our new participants will receive a yearly allocation through June 2019 with which to purchase ZipBooks through Amazon. Your library directors have all been notified about your first allocation, which will run from November 1st, 2017 through October 31st, 2018. You'll receive another allocation in November 2018, which will run until June 2019. You'll also receive information and support to assist you in developing local procedures. And we've also developed some branding for this project, including a logo and some other marketing materials, such as bookmarks and postcards. And these will all be sent out to you soon. So I just wanted to give you an overview of the project policies. First, we have a spending guideline of no more than $35 per item before tax. Those served must be registered borrowers in good standing as defined by your library. As a guideline, this was defined by Shasta as having a current library card with no more than $5 in accumulated fines, but you must have your own definitions. And borrowers may request zip books on the same day that their library cards are issued. Orders are restricted to books available in a tangible format through Amazon. Tangible format is defined as regular print, large print, or audiobook. Binding type is not a format. So a paper edition of a hardbound book is not considered a different format. No downloadable ebooks can be purchased through ZipBooks. There are no restrictions as to genre, but ZipBooks is only for books that are not already owned by your library. ZipBooks is meant as an alternative to traditional interlibrary loans, so you'd use it for those items that you would formerly have requested through ILL. You can still use interlibrary loan at your discretion. Obviously, there are some things that you'll need to request that won't be available through Amazon, so you'll need to rely on ILL for those. When placing orders, you should take advantage of the Amazon Prime free 2-day shipping option whenever possible, and you should not use expedited shipping. You must have items shipped from Amazon directly to the customer, not to your library first. And you may advertise the launch of your ZipBooks service as you see fit, keeping in mind initial impact on staff and existing services. Library staff may not order ZipBooks for themselves. We need to impose this rule in order to reduce the possibility that ZipBooks might be used for general collection development rather than as intended. And we'd like you also to survey your customers, and a survey form will be provided for your first year, and report your survey results quarterly, and we'll be able to obtain any other needed statistics from Amazon. Our new participants are required to have representation at this orientation meeting and also at any future conference calls or online meetings that may be scheduled. We're not anticipating there'll be a lot of meetings, but the need to meet may arise and you'll need to participate. We may schedule an in-person meeting sometime within the next year, and your libraries will need to send a representative to that meeting. All travel expenses will be paid by the grant should this occur, and we'll advise you well in advance. Because libraries have differing internal processes, you'll need and want to develop your own local procedures to implement ZipBooks. Innovation is allowed and even encouraged, but that said, to give you an idea of how it works, here's a procedural overview based on how Shasta Public Libraries runs their ZipBook service. And I'll cover the overall process, ordering from Amazon and working with the customer. Simply put, this is how ZipBooks works. Customers request books not owned by the library. Books are purchased online through Amazon and sent directly to the customer. The customer returns the books to the library branch from which they were ordered. And then returned books are either added to the library's collection, offered to other ZipBooks libraries, or sold at the Library Friends bookstore or disposed of in other ways. So here's, this is based on how Shasta Public Library runs their service. Reference desk staff received a request for an item not owned by the library, and then staff searched the local catalog to verify that the item is not owned. Staff then search the item in Amazon and determine if the request is ZipBooks eligible based on Amazon availability and the project policies. There may be some local policies that they've imposed. If the request is eligible, then a ZipBooks request form is filled out. This is an example of the form here. And that form is then routed to ordering staff. The customer is given a bookmark that states that the library will try to purchase the item and have it shipped directly to his or her address. The customer is asked to return the bookmark to the library with the purchased item when finished. And customers may also place a ZipBooks request by email or over the phone. Ordering staff process the order through Amazon, and Wayne Walker will talk a little bit more about this later. Staff will then call or email the customer and advise him or her of the ZipBooks order and expected delivery date. The request form is placed in a ZipBooks orders file and filed by customer last name, and a standard message is added to the order using the Add Gift Options feature in Amazon. The gift message appears on the packing slip that's shipped with the book, and it alerts the receiving customer that this is an item that was ordered through them through ZipBooks and gives them instructions on how and where to return the book, etc. You have a very limit, I think it's a limit of 100 characters, so it has to be a very concise message. But it does help with communications with the customer. The customer receives and reads the book and returns it to the library branch where the request was made with the Amazon packing slip and bookmark if received. The customer is then given a brief survey to complete. The request form is associated with the returned book, is pulled from the ZipBooks orders file and shelved along with the book in the selectors area. The selector reviews and decides whether to add the book to the collection, offer it to other ZipBooks libraries, or dispose of it in some other way, a friend's book sale, etc. The selector files the form in a ZipBooks completed file. So in this example of ZipBooks service, the request form is the main tracking device. Other devices such as a tracking log could be used. Practices vary from library to library, and so we want to encourage you to find what the best way for your library is. Customers should have a library card and be in good standing, however your library defines that. ZipBooks can be ordered the same day that the library card is issued. Customer is given a time frame of approximately 1 week at the point of request. Most requests, however, take only a few days. In some cases, it's 24 hours. With the prime shipping, it can be very fast. The patron is contacted when the book is ordered and notified of the estimated shipping date. There's no finite lending period for ZipBooks, but people must return their books before they can make another ZipBook request. Reminder phone calls and emails should be made after 4 to 6 weeks to people who haven't returned their books. Overall, our participating libraries have experienced few problems with people returning the books because they want to get more ZipBooks. As a guideline, limit ZipBooks to 1 per customer at a time. It'll be a lot easier for you to track that way. Forms and spreadsheets and other resources are available to you online for you to adapt and use as best fits your library. The only statistics that we'll require of you is to measure customer satisfaction this first year through a survey that's similar to that which is shown here. There's just a few questions. This is easy for people to fill out, and it's worked well in the past, and we'll ask you to report this quarterly. Some of our libraries are doing paper surveys. Others are doing this online. However you want to do it is fine, as long as we're all answering the same questions. And we'll provide this form to you before we get underway with ZipBook service. And now I am going to turn this over to Wayne, and he will discuss using Amazon for this project.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
All right, thank you. So I want to talk to everybody about using Amazon. Just the summary for that. these first bullet points here are the initial steps, which are instructions that have been sent to you already by Brett Lear about what we need you to create. Most of these are one-time tasks that we need for you to do before we can start the process for everybody. So the first is the basic step of library creates a new local Amazon account to be used for ZipBooks only and sends their account information to Khalifa. Again, this is a one-time task. What we're asking is that you generate a brand new Amazon account that's dedicated to just this project. We highly, highly encourage you to not, and as a matter of fact, we basically are restricting you from using an existing Amazon account that you may use for another purpose, because we're going to run into issues if you're using an account that's being used for other general purposes that may conflict with this project. So by creating this brand new Amazon account that you're dedicating to just ZipBooks, it's isolating everything and we won't have any order mishaps or anything like that. The second step that needs to occur is the library needs to establish its own separate Amazon credit line, which is again a one-time task, through its dedicated Amazon account for ZipBooks. So what we're asking all libraries to do is to go to Amazon. It's called an Amazon corporate credit line, and it's not the credit card, but it's the credit line, which is as it sounds. It's a credit line that will allow you to purchase against through Amazon. It has a net 55 term, so invoices that are received monthly have 55 days to be paid. The reason why it needs to be set up with the same account information as your dedicated Amazon, standard Amazon account that was established is so everything links up, so it's one-to-one. I'm going to go down to the last bullet point. When you receive the invoices for all your charges on your Amazon corporate credit line, the library is not to pay that. They are to forward those invoices to Khalifa to be paid. Khalifa has a partnership contract with NorthNet for this project, so we are the ones that actually hold all your actual funds for all your spending allocations, and we will be the ones that pay all invoices. So the library will be charging against this Amazon credit line that they're establishing. However, they are not responsible for actually paying that bill. That needs to be forwarded to Khalifa so we can pay for it with your grant funds. So that's where we have the library creates a new local Amazon account to be used for ZipBooks. That's step one. That's just the standard old Amazon purchasing account. The second step is with that standard Amazon account, establish the Amazon credit line. And the third step will be Khalifa will log into each of your standard Amazon accounts for purchasing, and we will subscribe you to Prime. Prime is, of course, the subscription, which is for the expedited shipping, the flat rate shipping that's paid through an annual membership. We will pay for that with a Khalifa credit card, since that is the only payment method allowed. So Khalifa will use our own credit card, which again will come out of grant funds. So the library doesn't have to be responsible for any of that. Once you do set up your standard Amazon account for the purchases, we do ask that you share that login information with Khalifa, which many of you have done already. So we can have that for obviously to log in and get you guys subscribed for Prime, and as well we'll need that for generating any order reports or any tracking that we need to do, financial tracking or anything like that. We do ask for your accounts. We do need access to it, but I promise you we're not going to be monitoring or policing or anything like that. As well, if there's any issues that you run into, it's good for Khalifa to have your login so we can go in and take a look as well. Maybe we can lend some advice as what's going on. So the basic process, again, is library searches for the requested item that's being requested by the patron. They find it in Amazon. They put it in the shopping cart. They submit the order. When they go through the checkout process, they're going to be using the library's local credit line that was established through Amazon as the payment method. So all purchases will go against that library's Amazon corporate credit line, and the item will be shipped directly to the patron. And again, at the end of every month, when you receive that invoice from the Amazon corporate credit line, you simply forward that to Khalifa and we will pay it for you guys. So Janet, if you could go to the next screen, please. Next slide. So a little more about establishing the Amazon corporate credit line. Amazon will guide you through mostly everything since it's an online application process. It's a very simple one-page application process. I believe we already have one library that went through the process from beginning to end. It took less than a week to do. Again, the key is to log in to Amazon, their corporate credit line page, using the email and password that you use for your standard ZipBooks account. So they will automatically sync together. When you go into the Amazon corporate credit line, their one-page application, it'll ask you to log in with your Amazon account. And again, that will be the same account information, email and password that you use to generate the standard Amazon account. You want to choose the Pay in Full credit line. There are two options. You want the Pay in Full credit line with the net 55 term, I believe, for payment. You do not want to get the credit card with the APR and all that good stuff. You want the Pay in Full credit line. So again, use the same account information used for the dedicated Amazon account used for ZipBooks, which would be the same email address and password as the Amazon account used for ZipBooks. Follow the instructions on the Amazon corporate credit line site and fill out the online application form as instructed within. Again, I believe it's only a one-page application form that asks a few questions. Once the Amazon corporate credit line, and that's the ACCL, is approved and created by Amazon, it will automatically link to your Amazon account used for ZipBooks as an available payment method. If it will allow you, which I believe it does, please set that Amazon corporate credit line as your default payment method in your Amazon account used for ZipBooks. So in the payment method, you should be able to, in the account, set that as default for everything. If you encounter any problems with that, you can contact me directly at Khalifa, and I will lend any advice or guidance that I can. So now I will hand it back over to Janet.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, I'm just testing you can hear me.
Yes.
Right, okay, good. All right, so just a basic overview of rollout. First step is to create an Amazon account dedicated to ZipBooks and send the login information to Wayne. The second step is to establish an Amazon credit line. And we're looking at a target rollout date for your ZipBooks service starting November 1st, 2017. And we expect you to have your service up and running by no later than the end of November. We have a logo which you should use for your web pages and other outreach materials, which is available on the ZipBooks website. And again, we want to leave it up to you how much you want to advertise the launch of your ZipBooks services, keeping in mind initial impact on staff and your existing services. And so with that, we will take questions at this point.
Thank you, Janet. This is Wayne again. What I'm going to do is open up the phone lines.
With a few extra things. With the
so everybody will be able to ask their questions over the phone. And I think I should have everybody. Okay, everybody's phone line should be open. So you can hear us, and now we can hear you. If you do have a question, we just ask that you let us know who you are and which library you're calling from. But the phone lines are open, so it's first come, first serve.
Hi, this is Dawn from Santa Maria, and I have a question on one of the policies.
Okay.
It says, so you said that it has to be a book that's not owned by the library. Does that mean the library branch, the library jurisdiction, or the whole library system that we're in?
It up until now, it has meant to a book not owned by the library jurisdiction.
Okay.
That's been our policy up until now. As we add libraries that are larger to this project, we may have to revisit that, but at this point, that's what the policy is.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments?
Wayne, this is Mike.
I have a question. This is Sharon Coronado from San Luis Obispo County. So there were several options for the book upon return, which was added to the collection, offer it to other libraries, or send it to the book sale. Can we do any one of those three things? Is there like a standard that you want us to do it one way over another? The thought of just sending it to the book sale is a little difficult.
Right, I understand. If you've decided that the book is really not appropriate for your collection, then we ask that you offer it to the other Zip Books libraries, and that just means that you post it on the listserv, and you can save them up, until you've got 5 or 10 or however many, until you're ready to post, and then just offer them and see if you have any takers. And then if you don't have any takers, it's up to you to dispose of it as you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Michael, I think you had a question.
Yes, Michael Perry from Siskiyou County. Since we're opening up the line of credit in the library's name and making purchases on that, is there a letter that Khalifa will send out that says, such and such a library system is part of this program, and we are, Khalifa is assuming all of the legitimate purchases made under that account for this time period? I'm worried about that. My auditor office might be like, well, what happens if Khalifa goes, you're just taking Wayne Walker's word for it, that they're going to pay the bills every month?
We did send out, when we notified the library directors of their allocations, it was in the form of a, letter of assurance that you would be, guaranteed a certain allocation for the November 2017 to October 2018 period.
Right.
If you need further documentation or assurances, we'll be happy to provide anything that you need.
Okay, I was just thinking, none of this states the Amazon account or anything that ties it to purchases on Amazon. It just says an allocation. So yeah, maybe something of a bridge document that sort of says this allocation that is being used for the books purchased under this Amazon credit line that Siskiyou County has created.
Okay, just let us know what language
reach
you
out.
need. Yeah, we're certainly happy to provide whatever you need.
Thank you.
This goes for everybody. Whatever you need.
Hi, this is Christina from Santa Barbara, and I have a question about the tangible formats.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that audiobooks are okay for purchase. What about music or movies? Are those?
Do you mind grabbing that if it keeps ringing? Tell Nora that we're on a conference call.
We have not allowed movies up to this point. It's been books. It's been very book based.
Okay.
I mean, we and that's our policy for now. As we get more into it with this expansion with our newer libraries and maybe some larger libraries, some of these policies may change. But for now, it's just books. We haven't.
Book-based. Okay.
Yeah, it's book based.
Great, thank you.
Great questions, everybody. Any more?
I have one more. This is Sharon again from San Luis Obispo County. In terms of sustainability, I'm curious, is there a length of time that we can count on the money coming from the grant? Is there a point where we're going to be expected to spend our own money on this, or what's the timeline on that?
Okay, the grant ends at this point June 30th, 2019. And depending on how things go, there may be an extension for beyond that for this particular grant for another 6-month period. We'll have to see how things work out money-wise. As we are continuing the LSTA grant, and so there's support for this project overall from that funding source. And I believe that the state librarian intends to pursue more state funding for this program moving forward. He's very, very much a supporter of this, and I believe the chances are good that there will be more. But right now, with this grant, it's June 30th, 2019.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I didn't see any questions come through by way of the chat, so there's nothing that is pending. Anybody have any other questions or comments, ideas?
This, again, Christina from Santa Barbara. So if, I'm sure it won't happen often, but if a patron does keep an item out and we've, done our best to contact them to remind them and they just have not returned the item, do we need to report that somehow, or is it just one that's gone?
No, you don't have to report it to us. It's that that particular person won't be able to order any zip books
anymore.
And will probably lose their, patron in good standing status, right?
Right.
And just
right.
the way you would deal with any patron that doesn't return a book.
Okay.
This is Sharon from San Luis Obispo again. I have one more question. Are there any rules about, like, if we charge for our traditional interlibrary loan service, charging for zip books as well?
Okay. When we started this project, it was a demonstration project, and the rule was that you could not charge for zip book service. And it was a problem, I think, workflow-wise for a few of our libraries. And we're not really imposing that restriction anymore. So if you do want to charge a few dollars for your zip book service as you would for an interlibrary loan, that's your decision.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any final questions before we wrap up? Doesn't sound like it, Janet.
Okay. Well, if you do have any questions, you're certainly welcome to contact me or really any of us after the webinar. And also, as I said, we will have a listserv available for you. So I'm just going to let you know a little bit more about communications. We're going to subscribe all the directors and contacts from each library to the ZipBooks listserv, and we'll be doing that within the next day or so. If you haven't done so already, you should email Brett Lear and Wayne Walker. You'll see their contact information in a minute to let them know who's been designated as the primary contact at your library for the ZipBooks project. We'll be adding all your addresses to the listserv. As I said, it'll be our primary sort of communication with you. We may have some additional side communications, but that's been our main way of communicating with our participants, and that will include the LSTA libraries as well as CLSA libraries. I'll post a list of mentors from existing libraries to the list once we have you all subscribed, so you'll know who you can contact for advice and support as you bring your ZipBook service up. I'm really grateful to these ZipBooks veteran libraries who've graciously offered to assist you. If any of you are on the call, I really appreciate it. And let's see.
I have one final thought, Janet.
Okay, sure.
For libraries that have already submitted your standard Amazon account email and password information, you send it to Brett. Brett's forwarding that to me. Thank you very much for that. Just a note, I will be going into those accounts to establish or subscribe each of those accounts to the Prime membership. Because we're asking everybody to hold off until at least November 1st, I will not be establishing that Prime membership until closer to that date because we don't want to cheat you guys out of any days of that membership. So I'll probably go in as early as next week to start subscribing people to Prime.
Great. And if you do want to add additional staff at your library to the listserv, you can contact Wayne. Khalifa is they're the ones who are running the listserv for us on this project. And we have project documents that are available on the Khalifa website, and here's the address. For general project information, Amazon purchasing and payment issues or questions, contact Wayne Walker at Khalifa Group. He is the technical lead for this project. If you have general questions about the ZipBooks project or questions about project policies, contact Brett Lear. Brett is the overall project manager. And Jackie Brinkley provides general oversight for the ZipBooks project, and here's her contact information, and I am the California State Library Grant Monitor. And then I also wanted to remind you all that we are having a ZipBooks meeting at CLA. It'll be on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. It's on the program, and we would really encourage you all to attend. We are providing breakfast and just kind of give you a chance to network with other ZipBooks libraries, get some information, and hear about some best practices, and just kind of get into the swing of things with ZipBooks. And that's all for me, I think, for now. Are there any further questions? Okay, well, thank you very, very much for attending our webinar. We really appreciate it. We'll be getting the PowerPoint and the link to the recorded version out to you, get you subscribed to the listserv, get you your mentorship information, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
And this is Wayne Walker with the Khalifa Group. Thank you, everybody, for attending. This will now end the webinar.